Erika Donald's in New York with us. Erika's the chair of the Center for Education Opportunity at the America First Policy Institute. So what about this? You're probably going to say, I thought it was interesting what Rubio said today, is that they don't like the way these stories are being characterized. And he thinks that kind of thing is not the way it should be characterized. So how do you see it?
Well, let's remember that Marco Rubio was confirmed by 100% of his Senate colleagues, right? And he's been very measured in his approach to a lot of these issues. We're talking about 300 and maybe a few more since then, student visas out of 446,000 that have been in the United States. And they are specifically for students who have been disruptive on college campuses in violence, vandalism, or other anti-American pro-terrorist activities, specifically targeting Jewish students on our college campuses who have been threatened, who have been abused and harassed. And the Trump administration had made it very clear that they are not going to tolerate that, and that being a student here is a privilege, and they're going to revoke those visas.
Well, that was the point he was making, is that you don't have a right to a student visa. It should be reviewed, and it is a privilege. And if you're violating the terms of that visa, you should, not have the visa anymore, which I think a lot of people broadly support. Then they see these exceptions or mistakes that are made, maybe, possibly, and they say, well, are we moving too fast? That's kind of a broader question about a lot of these stories. What about that the Trump administration's been accused of moving too fast and not being so careful?
Those of us who are paying attention to the protests since October 7, 2023, know that far more than 300 of especially foreign students were out there protesting and being violent and vandalizing these college campuses. So I don't think that 300 out of 446,000 is moving too fast. And it is unconfirmed that a traffic ticket was the only reason that the student's visa was revoked. I trust Marco Rubio. I've obviously known him for a long time, being from Florida. He was the Speaker of the House there. He was our senator, and he is now really an excellent Secretary of State. I think we need to trust the process and trust him with.
You know that they have something else on that individual?
I don't know that for sure, but it hasn't been confirmed that it was only
that.
That's
so
correct.
It could be something else, but you don't know for sure if it.
Correct.
The White House in general going after is the right term, but just it really has an issue. The president's been open about this. It doesn't like the way some of these college campuses have handled themselves, broadly speaking. And they're really, on funding, I have it in front of me here, a funding freeze. $790 million to Northwestern, $1 billion for Cornell, $200 million Princeton, $500 million Brown, $9 billion at risk for Harvard. He really gave it to Harvard today. So this is a political thing where he thinks these folks are way too far left and we're giving them too much money, right? So this is going to continue?
Well, I wouldn't say that we're giving them too much money, but perhaps we're giving them too much money if they refuse to comply with some very reasonable expectations from the administration to tamper down on some of this anti-Semitic activity that's going on their campuses.
Is that all it is, or does it go into DEI and that kind of thing?
Well, DEI has also been part of it. And the president has asked for these colleges and universities to certify that they are following the law, civil rights law that's been in existence in this country for the last 60 years, not exhibiting racial quotas when it comes to hiring and promotional decisions, following the Supreme Court's ruling on affirmative action, when it comes to protests on their campuses, not allowing students to wear masks where you cannot identify them if they are a culprit when it comes to vandalism or violence.
So the whole line between that is interesting, right? Because, as you know, the First Amendment, especially on college campuses, is as old as some of these colleges, or certainly, going back in recent times to the war protests in the 60s, and then more recently, all kinds of different things that have been protested. We always protect that, right? So where's that line? Where you're talking about anti-Semitism, other people would say it's expressing First Amendment beliefs and the right to protest, even if you disagree with it. That's what we do here, right?
I'm talking about anti-Semitism through violence and vandalism. And I have personally heard testimonies from students who have had to move dorms and be isolated from their fellow students.
Right, where people are way over the top.
Harassed, exactly. Those are the students that we want either their visas revoked because they're creating an unsafe environment for other students, maybe they're riling up violence, which is unacceptable, or, for example, if they have these anti-American and views that are trying to recruit other students to violent activity. That is a major problem. And I encourage Marco Rubio in what he's doing. And I believe it is a careful approach to identify those students and revoke visas very carefully. He doesn't want to run afoul of free speech.
Right.
Look at Elon Musk. What does he say about free speech? What's the answer to speech you don't like? More speech. And I think that Donald Trump, having put Elon Musk in such a visible position, agrees with that sentiment, as does the rest of the administration.